distinguished guests, excellencies, and our live streaming international audience, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2020 ADU Africa Down Under Conference. It's a credit to Bill Rapard and his team, including Digger's 2020 award-winning journalist and editor Dom Piper, that this event is proceeding, and we look forward to some excellent presentations and insights over the next few days. I would encourage all of you here to interact with those on the virtual platform, and you would have received via email a link, it's Delegate Connect, and you can come directly onto the platform. You don't need to download an app, you just need to use the link. So please include the wider audience. For anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Liam Twigger. I'm Managing Director of PCF Capital, and it's a pleasure to be the chair for this first session. Now, by way of setting the scene, whilst no one can ignore the devastating impact of COVID around the world, of all businesses and industries, mining has been that leading light in terms of the sector's capacity to generate growth, to build mines, to raise capital, provide jobs, income, and to provide hope to communities and governments around the world, especially those hardest hit by the pandemic. And for that, we should count our blessings. Now, if I can touch on some themes for Africa, and I've got three themes, which I'd like to just share with you. The first one is really the requirement for a poster child. All regions need a poster child, a business whose attributes are emblematic of an ideal or circumstance, i.e. it's gone very well, raised money, built a project on time and budget, and delivered huge capital growth for shareholders. It would be very hard to go past West African Resources and their great success in Burkina, producing a couple of 100,000 ounces per annum at less than 600 US an ounce, and the share price up 200% over the last 12 months. No, I'm not a shareholder or an advisor to West African, but this augurs well. Every country needs a poster child, and we need more West Africans, and it will be a conduit for more African investment. The next theme is one of majors exiting mature operations, or arguably simplifying their portfolios. And we've seen AngloGold and Barrick move to divest operations and deliver significant projects such as Marilla and Sadiola to junior companies. History has shown that majors invariably leave a lot of money on the table. See Northern Star and Evolution for references in that regard. And I expect anyone picking up an asset from a major, in Africa in particular, will do very well. And we expect more of this over the next 12 months, and they'll present some fabulous opportunities. And finally, the third theme is M&A. This reflects the maturity of the investment cycle and the strength of market confidence. Who would have expected that we'd be here at this conference today, and we've got an Australian company with an asset in Ghana being involved in a punch-up between the Russians and the Chinese? I expect a lot more of this as the market turns and people pay premiums for existing resources to make up for the lack of exploration over the last 5 years. So a lot more corporate activity can be expected. So these three themes of the poster child providing a catalyst for investment, majors delivering rationalisation opportunities for juniors, and increasing M&A to provide continued momentum into 2021 and opportunities for Africa. Now this morning, or this afternoon rather, in this session we have mineral sands, graphite and gold, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first presenter, Stuart Gale. Stuart is the interim Chief Executive Officer of Resolute Mining. Stuart joined Resolute as Chief Financial Officer in January 2020 and was recently appointed Interim CEO. Prior to this, he was Group Manager Corporate Finance for Fortescue Metals Group, FMG, and during FMG's expansion period, Stuart ensured robust systems and processes were developed and implemented, in addition to coordinating external and internal finance functions. Stuart has strong global relationships with banks, rating agencies, shareholders, debt holders and investors, which has proven to be highly beneficial to Resolute. Prior to his career at FMG, Stuart held senior executive positions at Wesfarmers, including Chief Financial Officer of Wesfarmers Energy and General Manager Group Accounting at Wesfarmers Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stuart Gale.
Thanks for the introduction, Liam. It went on for longer than it might have, but look, it's great to be with you all here at Africa Down Under. I think, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Africa Down Under team for being able to gather this together in what has been a pretty challenging environment, and it's great to be within the boundaries of Western Australia and seeing everyone be able to sit next to each other and have the opportunity to catch up. I'm joined here today by Resolute's executive team and a number of others. I'd like to specifically call out our Chief Operating Officer, Dave Kelly, Head of Exploration, Bruce Mowat, and our Head of People and Sustainability, Jordan Morrissey. We're not quite as recognisable this year as we might have been in other years, but we'll be around and look forward to catching up with you all. How do I do this, mate?
It's the green
Oh. That green button. Right. So look, Resolute has been in Africa for a number of years now. We see it as a very, very prospective area, and we've got a couple of fantastic assets that we're working with and have a long life ahead of us at Siama in Mali and also Mako in Senegal. And the thing that you'll notice from this slide relative to prior years is that you don't see the Australian continent any longer on this front slide. And that occurred when we divested our Ravenswood mine earlier this year. And now, very clearly, we are an African-focused company. Resolute's 30 years old now, or just over 30 years old, and having grown up in the goldfields in Western Australia, has looked to broaden its horizons and develop other opportunities. And we certainly see Africa as very prospective on that front. We started our operations in Africa sort of in the mid-90s, where we had our Obertan mine in Ghana and the Golden Pride operations in Tanzania. And both of those operations were run very successfully from the exploration, development and operations and subsequent closeout of those operations. So during that period of time produced almost 3 million ounces of gold from those mine sites. Of course, we can't get away from the challenges of 2020 and in particular the challenges of COVID. I'm very pleased that we're able to stand here at Resolute and report that we've kept all of our people safe and we've kept all of our operations running and producing gold throughout that period of time. It's been a huge effort from the people in Perth, but in particular the people on site. So in terms of the adoption of the various procedures that we've needed to do to ensure the safety of people and to ensure that our operations keep going, it's been a process that was implemented very quickly and allowed us to keep focus on the important aspects of keeping gold coming out of the mine sites. And I would just like to call out the general managers at our operations, John Gaunt, who's been on site at Siama for an awfully long time, Andreas Okus, who runs our Siama site, and Dean Bertram, who is the GM at Bibiani. So those guys have done a fantastic job in terms of keeping their people focused and maintaining our focus on delivering production throughout the course of 2020. So just turning to our operations and our business in country and looking at Mali, I think the important thing from our perspective is we're a gold miner and we very clearly have a focus of producing gold, but the other important thing is that we're developing our people in country. And the important thing with that is it's obviously a focus of ours to ensure that we're developing the national workforce. That's important because, first of all, it's the right thing to do, and second of all, it helps from the sustainability of our operations right across the board. So, as we can see in Mali, we employ around 2,600 people, both employees and contractors. We've got a fairly small office in Bamako, where the country manager has a very important role in terms of dealing with the ministry's tax officers and other parts, and to take a little bit of pressure off our operations guys. We've invested a significant amount of money in Mali, so you can see from our financials that we've put in almost $700 million worth of capital investment in the 10 or so years that we've been operating at Siama. We've paid royalties of getting close to $200 million at this point in time. So it's a significant, investment in country, and it's really important for us to ensure that as we're developing, that we're getting our return as well from a shareholder perspective. So we mustn't forget about that other component, which is returning to shareholders. We're particularly pleased with the development programs that we've put in place within Mali. As I said, we think it's really important from a sustainability perspective to ensure that we have good local talent coming through our operations. And to that end, the in-country manager in Bamako and our technical services manager on site are both very high quality Malian individuals, and they're role models that we want to keep rolling through and ensuring that we can continue to develop our talent in Mali. But we've put in place some talent development programs. We have supervisors who have been through a year-long program, and will continue to be looking to build our development of people and those critical national employees in country. So that's important from an operational perspective, but of course from a community perspective as well, it's also important that we're managing the local communities in which we operate and ensuring that we're delivering on our obligations in those local communities. Just turning to our operations now, Syama Gold Mine's been around for a long time now. Resolute has been operating here for a decade or so. It's a gold endowed operation, and we sit with about 3.3 million ounces of reserves across 2 processing plants and a significant life at Syama. So a good picture, this one, you can see the old open pit at Syama, and sort of to the right-hand side, you can see the workings from our underground development, the 2 portals leading into the declines down on the right there. But I think it's really important from a Resolute perspective just to get back to delivering on our production profile. So what's really important from our perspective here is to mine 2.4 million tonnes of ore from the underground cave. So the underground cave commenced production around June last year. That cave is producing well at the moment. It's a sub-level cave, and the propagation of the ore is starting to get to the levels that we'd like it to be at. So obviously it takes a little bit of time to work into that, but we're getting there now, and we're pleased with our production from the cave, but we need to keep delivering that. We need to also match our mill throughput with the mining levels. So that's an area for those in the room that have been following this Syama story. We will have, we're starting to get there as well. We've had a few challenges over the last little period of time, but again, we're getting to the point where we are comfortable with the processing circuit, and we're getting to that 80% recovery level that we need to get to in order to deliver 160-odd thousand ounces of production from the sulphide operations. The oxide performance at Syama, the other circuit, has been terrific over the last couple of years. We completed the Tabakoroni open pit operations in June this year, and we've been running down some of the lower grade stockpiles from Tabakoroni over the last little period of time. We have a number of satellite opportunities that sit out there from an oxide perspective, and Bruce and the team continue to identify those oxide satellite pits, which have been very prospective for us over the last 12 months or so. So there's a number of those opportunities, and we'll be looking to keep the oxide operations up and running for a while. And of course that'll help in terms of the timing around the potential development of our Tabakoroni underground mine. Importantly as well, we've commenced the Syama solar hybrid power station. So a picture that you can see there, it's 30 megawatt power station with 10 megawatts worth of battery. It should reduce our fuel usage at Syama by 40-odd%, which is obviously important from a cost savings perspective, and we know from an environmental perspective it's also really important that we consider these sorts of things and implement. So we're looking to have that operational by the end of this year. In Tabakoroni, which we mentioned, there was a release that came out at Tabakoroni just around diggers. So we've upgraded the resource estimate there. We're continuing with our exploration activities, and the team have continued to drill in those areas. So there's some positivity that's flowing through with all of that. But the important thing, as I said, from a Tabakoroni perspective, is that we continue to capitalise on our oxide legacy, and we can therefore continue to push out any capital expenditure around the underground operations, which at this stage our feasibility suggests would cost somewhere between $80 and $90 million to develop underground at Taba. But that's what the important thing is, to keep delivering, keep generating cash flows, and therefore to pay down a bit of debt. So excuse the accountant in me. Just turning to Senegal, around about 18 months ago now, we acquired the Mako mine from Toro Gold in Senegal. That's been a fantastic acquisition. We're generating really good free cash flows from that business at the moment, and we'll continue to do so, I'm sure, for quite a while. We have a small office in Dakar, and we're employing just over 1,000 people there in terms of our employees and contractors on site, with a strong national workforce. So again, a bit over $300 million worth of investment so far into Senegal, and we're just starting the tax royalty journey really from a Senegal perspective. We also operate in a really ecologically, environmentally precious area. So we've got a UNESCO World Heritage National Park which borders our mine site at Mako, and obviously that's part of our obligation as a mining company, is to ensure that that's really well managed. And importantly, we've been providing a lot of support for the management of that park, and we have seen some positive indicators of the national park functioning as it ought to, and with a nice picture there of the first elephant that's been seen in over a decade that's roaming through the park. So part of that is to ensure that we keep poachers out of the park, and to ensure that we're assisting the rangers and maintaining that ecological balance through there. But the Mako gold mine itself, turning to operations, 740,000 ounces worth of reserve there, has been, as I said, a really important asset for Resolute over the last 18 months or so. A little earlier this year, we updated our life of mine outlook, and we increased the reserve base by 39%. So we can see there that we're extending our mine life out to 2026. We've got a little bit of work to do next year in terms of just cutting back the open pit. So we might see production from Mako down to around 120,000 odd ounces next year. But over the remaining life of the asset anyway, we're looking at about 140,000 ounce per annum operation. So very important to capitalise on that asset. Turning to Resolute in Ghana, so we've been operating, we've been in Ghana at the Bibiani mine site now since around 2014. It's located on the township of Bibiani, and for those of you who are familiar with Bibiani, it's been a gold mine for around 100 years. So we've got a number of employees and contractors who keep that operation going. We support the local community in terms of hospitals, football teams, training, and the usual sorts of things in that location. So that's been an asset that for 12 months or so we've had under strategic review. We've been considering the benefits of continuing the operations at Bibiani, or potentially looking at how someone else might be better placed to operate that mine site. So we continue that process. It's been an interesting process in as much as whilst we'd like to have been able to have got people to site. Obviously, the whole COVID situation throughout 2020s precluded our ability to get folks in. But Ghana's lifted their hard borders now, and we've had the opportunity to get other people onto site and to have a look at Bibiani. Of course, we've got a pretty significant exploration footprint as well throughout West Africa, and we've got active exploration programs which are underway in Guinea and Côte d'Ivoire, as well as very clearly the near mine exploration work that's being done at both Syama and also at Mako. So our focus really has been more recently around the near-term identification and development of resource near our mines, and to just make sure that we keep that resource up and running to our mines, and continuing to feed the infrastructure that we've already built within the countries. We've also got a number of strategic investments throughout Africa, and our objective there is to take a reasonable position in companies that we think have strong exploration teams and have obviously a prospective outlook. So we can see that we're in a number of different areas with a number of different players, many of which are in the room today. So that's a strategy that's been in place for some time at Resolute, and we continue to evaluate how those companies are performing and the optionality around that from our perspective. And obviously ESG has been mentioned a couple of times by my previous speakers, and that's a really important thing from our perspective, because it's not about ticking a box, and it's not for us about ensuring that we've satisfied the Anglican Church's review into tailings dams or something like that. This is about a good business, and it's about operating to ensure that we are managing the areas in which we work respectfully, and that we're working with the communities and the governments in a sensible fashion. So we can look at ESG from a compliance perspective, but what we really need to be doing is turning that compliance into how it makes sense from a business and a sustainability perspective. So that, I think, needs to be an ongoing focus of companies, is to ensure that we do have that business focus when it comes to looking at our ESG and sustainability activities right across the board. But look, we are very much aligned to the World Gold Council's responsible gold mining principles. Jordan Morrissey has done a lot of work for us on this front, and has elevated our thinking around a number of these different principles and some of the things that we ought to be doing. So we're looking forward to publishing a sustainability report during the course of early 2021 with our annual report. So look, I'll just wrap it up by saying we're very pleased to be in Africa. We think it's a really prospective area, and we think that there's a lot of opportunity in terms of our obviously our existing assets, but also the future at Resolute. The mining industry is absolutely a generator of wealth for the countries in which we operate. That's really important, and we want to be seen to be partnering with governments, communities, and other stakeholders in the countries in which we operate. The other really important thing that I touched on at the start is the sustainability of our operations and sustainability of the local workforce. We've seen the challenges that COVID has created for everyone in the world over the last 8 or 9 months, 10 months, and to the extent that we can skill up and have local workforce available, that's one of the ways of combating some of the challenges that we might be faced with as we move forwards in a more COVID type world. The other really important thing that's been a topic, particularly over the last few days, is around taxes. We absolutely have no issues at all in paying our fair share. We want to pay tax, we want to pay dividends, and we want to ensure that the local suppliers are given a fair share of all the business that's going on in country as well. So that's really important. It's really important that we do that as an organisation, but of course we can't forget about our shareholders and our other stakeholders. So it's a matter of getting that win-win relationship between all of those parties, and really importantly we need to ensure that we've got stable fiscal arrangements to ensure that the investments we make, Resolute's put well and truly over $1 billion into work, that we have a really solid basis to ensure that we can capitalise on that investment and ensure that all parties receive their fair share of it. So I think with that, Liam, I'll wrap it up.